So just want to acknowledge that with Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, everybody knows, and so I think it's especially important that we're all here today, just to continue the work that we'll all need to do to uphold rights and access for all, especially for the most marginalized. There's a lot for us ahead. So in a lot of ways, I'm so happy that we're all here today. And I hope that Leadership Summit has been really grounding and a place where you all can learn and gather in community. And I hope that we end today feeling really energized and refreshed for what lies ahead of us in our movement building. So with that, I'm just gonna go ahead and help lead us through some intros. I just introduced myself. Again, for those who may have just popped in, my name is Kathleen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a California state organizer with URGE. And I'm just gonna have all the organizers pick each other like in a popcorn style. So Olivia, can you please go next?
Hey everyone, my name is Olivia. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Ohio State Organizer based in Columbus. And shout out to Ohio folks that I see on the call. Love you guys. I'll pass it off to Emily.
Hey y'all, my name is Emily. Forgot to put my pronouns on my Zoom, but I changed it. So my pronouns are she, her, Aya, and I'm the Georgia State Organizer for Middle and South Georgia. So I live in Macon, Georgia. And I can pass it on to Nigel.
Hi y'all, I'm Nigel. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm one of the Kansas State organizers based out of Wichita, and I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm also a Kansas State organizer with Nigel, and I'll pass it to Andy with the I.
Hey y'all, I'm Andy. My pronouns are they, them, or he, him, and I'm one of our organizers in Alabama. And I'll hand it off to Andy Escobar.
Hey, hi, hello. My name is Andy. My pronouns are he and they, or Eli, Eye. I'm coming at you live in Houston, Texas, and I'm the Texas organizer. And I'll bounce it over to Sonia.
Hi folks, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Sonia, my pronouns are she, her. I'm the California State Senior Organizer. I'm coming to you from Oakland, California. And are there other staff that have yet to be introduced? Jessie?
Hello, yes, I'm here. I am Jessie. I use she, her, aya pronouns. I'm also a California State Organizer. I'm based in Southern California. Currently in Rancho San Bernardo, not in Los Angeles. So visiting my San Diego folks right now. But anyway, is there any other staff that's on? I'm on mobile, so it's kind of hard to tell. Speak now. No, all right, I'll pass it back to Kathleen.
All right, thanks everybody for introing yourselves. Also just want to let everyone know that we do have a closed captioning service available. So if you hover to the lower menu bar on your Zoom, you should see the CC square, and underneath it says closed caption, and then you can click on it. And if you'd like subtitles as folks are speaking, or be able to view the transcript of the meeting, that should be available. I'm hoping that this should probably work today. I know that the past week we've had some technical difficulties with securing the closed captioning, but hopefully it works today. All right, so, okay, great, thank you, Sonia. All right, I believe we're gonna go into just straight into today's session that I think Olivia is leading, right? Or Andy, should I hand it off to you before we go into that?
Can I actually make an announcement about Free the Pill?
Oh yes, that's right. Go ahead, Jessie.
Awesome. So I'm gonna go off my camera right now just to read it. But you've all been hearing about this all week if you've been with us. I know today was the only mandatory day, so just in case you haven't heard about it, Free the Pill Fest, if I can find my little prompt here, is a 2-day festival online celebration from October 13th through the 14th, all about advocating for over-the-counter oral contraceptives. And we are offering funding to create content for hashtag Free the Pill Fest, which is centered around that accessing over-the-counter oral contraceptives means to young people, as well as the challenges young people face accessing birth control. And so this is kind of up to interpretation, and we have 3 different tiers of, like, I guess, levels of difficulty or length of which these projects can look like online, and we are going to pay for all of them. So, for example, a very short project could be a 15-second TikTok, 1 to 2 page graphic, 1 to 2 page zine. A more medium sort of project is a longer TikTok, host a tweet chat, a song, a digital art piece, infographics, longer zines, longer graphics, an Instagram Live, an article even from 200 to 500 words, and anything longer than that, like a YouTube video that's up to 5 minutes, articles that are over 500 words, podcast episodes, longer zines will all get paid. For the longer ones, you can get up to $500 to do this project. And we're just paying based on like the length of the project. And so if you haven't seen it around already, I'll go ahead and drop the link if you're interested. Sarah, myself, and Emily are all part of the committee. So if you have any questions throughout today, you can totally message us on the chat in the Zoom chat, and we can answer any questions. We can also drop our emails, whatever you'd like. But yeah, the cutoff is October 1st. So if you have ideas in mind, make sure that you are. Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen just dropped the link. If you have any ideas, make sure to submit them before October 1st. And yeah, I hope that all made sense to you all. I'm really excited to see what you all come up with and what you all hate, and we can't wait to share it, especially if you're an artist. We can uplift that work for you. But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much, and I'll pass it off to Andy, Kathleen.
Hey y'all, I just wanted to share, I just dropped a PDF of the agenda for this weekend, just so y'all can have it again. It also has the links to the surveys that we had throughout the week. So if you weren't able to fill those out, once again, please fill them out. We would love it. So we're just gonna move into our first session for today, which I'm really excited to be actually co-presenting with one of my fabulous friends and comrades and colleagues, Olivia.
Hello.
Olivia, did you want to share your screen, or do you want me to share the screen?
Can you please share your screen?
Totally.
I can.
Is that oh, let me look at the chat. Yes, great, okay. Love it. Love when technology works, right? Okay. So, hey, wow, we're here, the day we've all been waiting for, the stuff that we have been prepping, the like juicy, meaty stuff that y'all really wanted to learn. It's here today, and we're gonna start off with talking about facilitating a digital event. Because you wanna start having digital events, huh? I mean, I assume the answer is yes. That's why we're here. Next slide. So, one of the things that, so this is how we're gonna go through today's like session as far as like running a digital event. So we're gonna start off with what you do as you're planning your event. We're gonna go over stuff you do before your event. We're gonna talk about stuff during your event, and then what you do after your event. So it's very linear, and we hope that that's a way that folks can follow along on what we're like trying to offer. And then, so we're doing all of this from the perspective of like being the facilitator. So the person who's kind of like making sure that the event runs smoothly. And when we say event, we're also using that to mean meeting or event interchangeably, but we're just saying event for the sake of not having to say both of those over and over again. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro, Andy. So, you guys are the facilitators. We're here. We're planning the event. All right. So, we obviously need to get ready. And the first thing that I always start with, oh no. Is anyone else having a problem seeing? Oh yeah, everybody, okay.
Did that? Okay, might be.
Okay, cool, we're good. All right, great. So once you decide what you want your event to be, a great place to start is creating an agenda for the event in advance. And if you're having one facilitator, 5 facilitators, no matter how many facilitators you have, it's really important that you have those facilitators be part of the agenda making process, just so everybody's in the loop and has some skin in the game. And if you're planning on having any speakers or interpreters, of course you need to identify who those are, make sure that they align with the budget that you have, and finalize those. When you finalize your agenda, it's also pretty helpful to share that agenda with the speakers that you may be bringing into your event. Not much for interpreters, but whatever floats your boat. Next, of course, advertise, especially because we're not in person in the same capacity as we normally are. It's really important to utilize Canva, your social media platforms, emailing people, and if you have a text, like text chain, text group chat, to remind people of the event and to let people know about the event. And just like we're doing now, before your event, it's super important to see if you have the capacity to do closed captioning or post captioning, just so that we can remain as accessible as possible during the event. And I know y'all met Kiki, I think on Wednesday, but if you need access to our paid Canva account, you can contact Kiki. Can someone drop Kiki's email in the chat for me? Kiki is our communications manager and is super great with social media and Canva. So if you need any assistance with that, or just someone to just check it over for you, Kiki is really helpful and really easy to talk to. Another really good thing to keep in mind is when you're advertising and there is an incentive for going to the event, make sure that you include that in your advertisements. So like, will there be raffle prizes? Who's the special guest, if there is one? Will there be food stipends? Pull people in as much as you can from every angle that you can, and make sure that that information is included in your advertisements. And then following advertising, it's really helpful, especially for me when I do events, to invite people to a calendar event so that they can RSVP and remember that it's happening. And I find that it's easier to do like the advertisements first, give that some time to marinate, and then follow that up with a calendar event. But the calendar event serves 2 purposes. It reminds people that things are happening, but it also allows you to see who plans on attending. So that's really good. And some things that we didn't include in this presentation that I think that it's important to keep in mind, some good questions to ask yourself. Do you need to create a budget? I know I touched on this a little bit when we talked about speakers, but that definitely needs to happen beforehand so that you can decide if there are incentives, if there are speakers, etc. And will you need to send materials out to participants? So that could look like handouts for accessibility. That can look like fidgets if this is more of like a conference space. It could really be whatever is applicable for your event, but it's important to keep that in mind in advance and consider that in your budget ahead of time. And like we did today, not today, but for this event, for the Leadership Summit, we sent out a survey, right? And we asked y'all what you needed and what, not only like what you were interested in, but what you needed for accessibility. And I think that that's a really great practice to get used to doing, especially now that everybody's in front of a screen all the time. Not that accessibility isn't always important, but like we already named post captioning or closed captioning, but maybe there's something that someone needs specifically for themselves that you might have the capacity to provide. So it's really important to ask those questions for yourself, but also there's some questions that you need to be asking your audience too ahead of time. Okay, I'm good. You can switch the slides.
Okay, I am back. So we just went over the stuff that you do before planning your event, making sure it's all prepped and ready. Now we're talking about like what you're doing right before it's happening, right? Because we're almost there. It's the 2 days before. So some of the things to really keep in mind is reminders, because everyone is overwhelmed with a million things in their lives, whether it's school, work, family, friends, all of that stuff. So it's really important to send out reminders to, make sure that you have a great attendance. So a good rule of thumb is to send out an email reminder 2 days before, and then send a text or email reminder the day of to make sure that people remember the day of, like the time and stuff like that. Whenever you're getting ready for the event, like I was today, it's really important to really think about like where you're going to be as a facilitator, like what is your space looking like, and like what's behind you, like is there anything distracting? So I try to make sure that there isn't like a lot of stuff behind me, and I'm actually standing right now to help me feel a little bit more present and alert with y'all, and that really helps me just be a better facilitator. So find what works for you, but just really think about the space that you're in and just all of that. And then the last thing is, don't forget to remind your guest speakers and your interpreters as well, like Olivia said. Those are folks that, are offering up their expertise. And you just want to provide them that same courtesy, so that way they're all on the same page. And actually, earlier Olivia mentioned that maybe it wouldn't really matter to send the interpreters the agenda, but I would actually say it's a good idea, just so that way they can like predetermine in their head some of the things that they're going to have to interpret, because there might be some things that are like very specific lingo that they might have to research. So always a good idea to try to keep them in the loop as well, just to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks for them as well. What else? That's the main stuff that I have. And we'll move on to the next part.
Okay, so the event's happening. People are there, the Zoom is turned on. Okay, so this is what you need to keep in mind during your digital event. Next slide, please. So from the jump, you want to establish personal connections. We've all been in really boring Zoom meetings, classes, events, where it's just like, who are we talking to and why are we here? And how dare you? And so I think it's, of course, it's super important to engage people. A lot that can look like a lot of different things. That can, it's really important to encourage people to come as they are you know, like, especially right now, people, like, we're doing this all the time. And to lower the pressure as appropriate is always going to help things flow. And it's important to provide space for people to check in and speak during the event. So that can look like some check-in questions, which we have examples of actually. Hey, Andy, would you mind dropping the link for the example check-in questions that we have? So yeah, so it's like a great way to start all of this and to break the ice is with check-in questions. And depending on your environment and the group of people that are in your event, those can be pretty personal. Like, how are you doing? Are you actually okay? Are you a green, a yellow, a red, and why? Or like, if this is sort of a superficial type event, like it could be, you know, like, what's been your favorite like new show recently during the pandemic? Like, and either way it goes, like, it gets people to know each other, it gets energy flowing, and it always helps. And what I mean by speak during the event is it's helpful to have opportunity to have people ask questions. If there's an opportunity for people to share their 2 cents or an opinion or a reaction, it's always good to not just talk at people the whole time. And because you're the facilitator, Andy, could you please switch the slide? Because you're the facilitator, your energy is the baseline. You can't expect people to be hype for your event if you're not hype for your event. It's your event. So you need to bring the energy that you want other people to bring. And I know Andy had a really great tip about standing up. This also is really helpful, side note, for interviews, to stand up, because you just I don't know, naturally are more bubbly when you do that. I'm sitting down, but I'm pretty caffeinated. I have my water here, I'm comfortable, and so I'm able to be present and available to this space right now. So whatever works for you, do that. And I know I haven't been the best at this today, but it's really helpful to try to speak at a moderate pace. High energy can sometimes translate to talking fast. So just keeping that in mind. When I'm nervous, I talk fast, like right now. So one thing that helps me is like moving my hands, and that helps me catch myself when I'm talking fast, because I end up moving my hands faster. So I need to take a deep breath after my sentences, like right now. And that's okay. It's, I think, really helpful to be a human being, and to be as vulnerable as you feel like being. But I think that helps pull people in and allow them to be themselves also. So whatever you're comfortable doing, if that is admitting that, you know what, I'm actually like really tired today, but I'm bringing my best, and I'm really happy that y'all are here. Those little things really do help. And, you know, along with energy, this also means, like, if the energy's low, but your energy is high, that still means that you gotta find ways to bring people up. It's not just about your energy. So ways that you can do this are calling on people, not to necessarily call them out, but maybe to read something if there's something that people can read in a presentation, or if, you know, nobody is answering a question, maybe you can be like, okay, I'm gonna call on you, but like we can popcorn this afterwards. That social pressure helps people get engaged, and it's really easy, you know, to listen for the first 10 minutes of an event, and then, oh, now I'm on Facebook. And so when people are on their toes, and they know that there's a chance that, you know, they could be called on, sorry, my CNN alert, that will keep people's energy up and keep them involved. And I forgot to add that when we check in and we create the energy space between us as a community, it's important to allow provide the time for people to introduce themselves. And if someone comes in late, welcome them to the space, not to call them out for being late, but to acknowledge that they're there. That's all important. And I don't know about y'all, but I have been in meetings that I haven't been super energetic in, and I haven't been super enthusiastic to be in. But when the facilitator is pretty persistent in their joy, it's contagious to a certain extent, at least, and definitely gets me going. So bad word choice, but yeah. The only thing that I have to add is, you know, the whole energy conversation can be taken a little too seriously, and I want to name that it's still important to encourage people to come off their cameras as they are able to, but you know, sometimes people can be more present when their camera is off. And so making that clear, those expectations clear, even though, like, as a presenter, like, your camera's on, you're super energetic, it doesn't mean everybody else has to like follow your exact method to also have high energy and to be present in the space. I know that I said a lot, and we're about halfway through what we want to talk about. So I just want to take a second, and if anybody wants to come off of mute to ask any questions or drop anything in the Slack, now is a good time. If not, then we can definitely move on. Oh, I just saw. Thank you, Kelsey. This is Benefit. Girl Meets Pearl. They don't sell it in the store anymore. Got to get it off what's it called? Poshmark? One of those resales. One of them. I'll send you the link. Okay, I think we can move on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all so much. So as Olivia was really saying, you know, it's just really important to read the room, right? Like, I know right now, like what I'm reading is that everyone's energy is like all over the place. Like I can see some people who are really alert, and I can see some people who are just kind of like slouching a little bit, and that's totally fine, right? Like there is enough space for everyone to show up as they are and still take in what they can receive from this moment, right? So I, you know, just like Olivia did in this moment, to stop and allow for, you know, just a pause for just some silence to see if there was any questions, if y'all had any concerns, anything you wanted to bring up. It's important to continue doing that throughout, you know, any sort of thing that you're facilitating. And then if we're doing like long things like we're doing today, it's really important to put in some breaks. So, you know, throughout the whole week, we've been trying to be really cognizant of putting in breaks. I know for us as staff, when we do long staff day type of stuff, we're really, really adamant about our breaks, and also really adamant about asking us to leave the computer and just leave the screen for your eyes to rest and for your mind to rest. So just keep that in mind for the break today, you know, when we're gonna have a break later on. And then, yeah, like if for whatever reason, you know, you just notice like your content was just super boring and it's actually like not all that great, maybe like invite people to do some sort of energizer, maybe a shakeout, maybe a collective breathing session, you know, asking people to go off mute. One that I really like that I haven't seen people do as much is just having everyone, well, if they're comfortable, right? It might be weird because everyone's in a different space, but like going off mute and just yelling all together. So yeah, just finding ways to really build this space collectively as much as we can. Hold on, next slide. Yes, screaming into the void can be very helpful. Okay, so also, you know, it's important to keep it on track. Sometimes shit hits the wall and things get totally off track. It's happened to all of us. We've all been in some sort of meeting where it just went complete 180, or something just went wrong or didn't go according to plan. It's just really appropriate and helpful to always think of some sort of plan B. Where is a slide that I can maybe cut off to save some time? Maybe there's some sort of event or activity that we need to skip and just get to the content straight to it, right? Because sometimes we do activities to get people to understand what we're trying to get them to. And maybe it's just like, okay, let's just get them to the point and move on. So just think about plan B. And then also don't let it derail too much. If you're having a meeting about talking about defunding the police and somebody's there like talking about, I don't know, the tax on campus students, something like that. And it's like, no, girl, like that's another meeting. We're here to talk about this now, like we'll table that, right? So, something that's really helpful during meetings or events is also have some sort of an herb garden where you can kind of like hang up ideas for later that you can go revisit later. Or some people like to call it a parking lot, or, put a pin on it, or some people say put a bird on it, or whatever, just whatever you want. And then the other thing is delegate during the meeting. So if during the meeting somebody's like, oh, we should actually go table at that event, be like, okay, so who here right now can volunteer to sign us up to table at that event? And then just wait for somebody to, offer themselves up. Or if something comes up in the meeting, they're like, oh shoot, we should talk to that, that instructor from that class. And it's like, okay, who here has that instructor who can go do that conversation, right? And so like create accountability like all together. Just delegate. Just some things to keep in mind. And it's over.
Yeah, so what should you do after your event? Well, first, celebrate yourself. I think it's really easy to put a lot of work into something and then just be like, oh, okay, moving on. No, we are in a pandemic, and in this economy, you need to celebrate yourself 2 times over. So celebrate your success. And also in doing so, think about, okay, how did that go? Let's have a follow-up meeting as a chapter to think about, what went well, what should we like reintroduce, what should we bring into the space that we didn't this time, and like what shouldn't we do again. And you should also follow up with the people who came to the event. Next slide. You should follow up with the people, oh, I was wrong, sorry. You should follow up with the people who came and send an eval. That's really helpful for when you want to have those conversations with your chapter about moving forward and doing this again. When you follow up with those people that came, make sure you say thank you. We all have things to do. We have things that, we could have been doing besides the event that you hosted. So like always show gratitude. It goes a long way. Then, you also want to follow up with the people who offered to do tasks. So maybe that's, sending follow-up texts after the event, maybe to send out the petition you guys talked about, or the bit.ly for the next event, whatever that may be. Follow up with the person who offered to do that task. And another thing that you might have to do after the event is look at who came, gathering the attendance, going over your budget, making sure everything has been paid for. Things like that are important to do right after your event. Don't leave it to weeks after. Things get messy, things get lost. And just like the rule we said earlier with reminding people to come to events, the 2-day rule is pretty good also for following up with folks and thanking them for coming. And when you move forward towards your next event, it's always a great idea to to rotate your facilitators so that people first of all can try new things. and it's not just like this weird hierarchy of facilitators. And also for people who continue to come to your events, for them to get the chance to see who is even in your org in the first place. And then lastly, it's with all of this following up and stuff, it's really important, like I already mentioned, to follow up with yourself. So that's just really funny to me. Following up with yourself and asking yourself, you know, like, along with what I said, like, what was good, what was bad, what could be changed or added, like, what made you nervous if you were nervous? And like, what made you really confident? Those things are good to keep in mind. Maybe what's nervous, maybe that's not something that you should take away, but maybe reinforce again next time so that you won't be as nervous. You know, these skills go a long way, and the better we can be about having these digital events, the more people that will show up and the easier they will be. And, you know, I think that this is the type of skill that we are all going to need moving forward, regardless of when the vaccine for COVID comes out or not. I think digital organizing has proven to be really critical for the work that we do. So asking yourself these questions at the end and asking the people who came how they felt about the event is always going to contribute to a more successful event after that one. So that's it. We went over before the event, planning the event, during the event, after the event. And I just want to say thank you for sitting through all of that. I think Andy just dropped the link to a handout that you can go over to refresh your memory when it comes time to do your own digital event. But when that happens, when you do organize your own digital event or meeting, don't forget that we're still here. Andy, can you switch the slide, please?
Yes.
This is our contact info. And of course, you have your own state organizer, but we all work together. So like, we're Team Urge at the end of the day. So if y'all have questions about the presentation, or if you want to just talk or whatever, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Andy or anybody. We like really love this stuff, and we are honestly learning with y'all. So we could also, if you've realized, oh, this was actually something that I did that was really helpful, we might not even do that yet, and we would love the tips. So thank you so much.
Yay, thank you, Olivia. So let's stop now. What's in folks' heads? What are y'all thinking after all this info shared? The handout that I gave y'all is essentially what we all just went over. It's sort of like a cute little outline. So yeah, feel free to come off mute, message if you want. We have a few more minutes. Maybe you can share anything that makes you nervous. Maybe you can give Olivia and I some critiques. How did we do? Stuff like that. And I'll wait. Okay, so there's Melissa says, really loved all the tips and ideas. Personally, really love the herb garden pin idea to get back to and follow up. Kelsey asks, what are some of the best ways to advertise an event? We have low turnout for our meetings. Oop. So I think in the digital age, it's not enough anymore to just like post a thing on your main like feed, and then it's not enough to just post on your story anymore. Like now you gotta like go into the DMs. You got to do that, like, you know, on the ground, not on the ground, on the cloud, grassroots organizing. So DM your followers, send them the flyer in a DM, be like, hey, thanks so much for following us. Can you be there to our meeting tomorrow? You know, be relentless, because right now, that's pretty much the only way to get, I mean, we were relentless with y'all. We were like, show up, please. We'll give you food, we'll give you money. Like, we want y'all to take stuff from this. So yeah, that's something I would say. Does anyone else have any other ideas for advertising an event before I go to the next questions?
I have a thought.
Please.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Urge UA in Alabama. Pronoun she, her. I was here yesterday. My tip is with what we do, but we're lucky we have quite a full e-board this year, which is rare, so we're excited, is I'll create a graphic for Instagram and Insta stories, and then we'll create another graphic or the same one, and we'll put it in our weekly emails. And then we also have a group me. So posting that like a week before the event, and then giving people updates for events coming in a month or 2 months, and then posting like twice in a week leading up on the story, in the email, with our newsletter, and then in the group me, and on Instagram and on Facebook has helped us a lot, so that people are getting it on different platforms as they prefer the platform. So we try not to bombard with double posting, but that's also an option that we use and it works. So just a thought.
Hey, Sarah Lib, would it be possible for you to create some sort of just cute little checklist for all the things that you just laid out that we can maybe designate for everybody? Because that was really like concise. Everyone would really appreciate that.
Yeah. You want it in the chat or as a doc?
You can, whatever work, you don't have to do it right now in this moment, but like at some point, share it with everyone.
I can do that.
For sure. Let me read some of the other comments. So Abril says, I think reminders are very important, especially because many things are digital now. So it's really easy to lose track of what day we have what. Very true. And yeah, somebody else, Wesley's also having a hard time getting people to come. It says, if the events are for the school, your school might have an app. TAMUCC, which is Texas A&M University Corpus Christi students, use Wildfire app, which is like a social media for students of the same school. I post meetings and nights there, and some students have really reached out. Super dope. I think another way to get people to come is incentivizing your stuff. So post Leadership Summit, we're gonna start rolling out some resources for folks that y'all can start tapping into. But like we talked about, you know, earlier in the presentation, give out door prizes. Give out a door prize for every meeting that you have, whether it's a t-shirt or, you know, I don't know, like a little gift card, swag, anything. Like people enjoy that stuff. And then if you can mail it and write them like a cute little note, super cute. You know, do raffles, maybe, you know, there's just like, be creative in the ways that, you know, you want to come to an event, like what brings you to something, and then offer that up to your folks and reach out to us as the organizers. Like we can brainstorm with you. We always have folks that we can ask for stuff. The worst they say is no. It doesn't hurt to ask. We have resources and it's time for y'all to utilize them. So yeah.
I want to add to that. I know that a lot of people have had some difficulty getting the same amount of funding that they're used to getting right now. And I just want y'all to keep your eye out for this thing that Urge is starting this year where you can apply for a stipend for a program. And you can qualify for if you're an Urge chapter, you can get up to $1,000 per year. And so we're gonna really roll that out more once our day of July comes, which also keep that in mind, that will be in October. But when you apply for your like event and get funding for your event, part of that money you can use to then have and having mailing money and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind and keep your eye out for that.
I have a question. So when it comes to the flyer, the first part on there is creating an agenda. With that, do you suggest creating an agenda with the group, by yourself? And if you are, because it's a facilitator, so that they could know the agenda too. Like, would you recommend maybe to have that separate, like the agenda maker and the facilitator, or
Good
any
question.
advice?
Yeah, no, I think that's really good because it can be confusing. First part is like what we were referring to specifically, there's more than one facilitator. So like if you're going to co-facilitate an event, or maybe co-lead a meeting, work together, right, collaboratively to draft that agenda. I think if you have like a team of leadership folks, steering committee, board, executive committee, whatever you call it, I think it's always useful and helpful to collaboratively on the agenda, but sometimes that doesn't work, right? Because sometimes it's like too many cooks in the kitchen and everyone's like, so you got to find what works for y'all. If it makes sense for one person to draft an agenda and then bring it back to the rest of the group and be like, hey, like offer up your feedback. But that's what I would say. What about you, Olivia, or anyone else?
Yeah, I would add that, so for this leadership summit, for example, the state organizers that you see, like you can call that a task force. So like if that's, that could be your exec board. And then like if you want to put on a large event like this, have different categories of that event, then you can have people team up and deal with those categories as a team so that they're to avoid that too many cooks in the kitchen issue. So for instance, Anne and I teamed up to do this presentation, and we just simply like opened up a shared doc together and went over exactly what we wanted to cover, looked at how much time we had. And so that's what we mean by having the facilitator involved in the agenda, is if there's like, let's say, so we're co-facilitating. So we had, we made the agenda. But if like, let's say you have a facilitator who's an outside source facilitator that's more of a speaker, what I would do then is have your group of people that is in charge of making that agenda, make that agenda, and then pull those outside people in to just let them know, give them like the rundown. I wouldn't over involve people that are just there to like step in and step out. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody else have a question, thought, concern?
We'll take a critique.
Yeah, like could we have done something differently to engage y'all today?
It is a Saturday. Okay. Yeah. Andy, could you resend the information? I hopped in late. Yes, I definitely will. Let me drop a couple of links. Final call for any questions or any comments. And as always, we are here. Utilize us. You know, I always say that like us as state organizers, we're kind of like those faculty advisors they all have for your student org, but like, and plus, and much more like mentor-y. So like, you know, come to us. And then I'm gonna add one more link, which is the icebreaker check-in questions. Yay, I'm glad that the presentation was good. One thing to, you know, borrowing from MK's Canva training from yesterday, for those who were there, I mean, I just used a template for this presentation and that's it. And I just like plugged things in, tweaked it around, took like 30 minutes, not even. So things to keep in mind. And I know that there's lots of questions about like, pulling folks in, recruitment, right? Like those are things that we're going to be covering in the rest of today, which is going to be really exciting. So, keep those things fresh in your brain. I think we're going to have some really exciting ideas for y'all. And I know that some of the other organizers have been hard at work putting together some dope ass shit. So if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to pass it over to Nigel for just like one quick announcement, and we can go on our break a little bit early.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a heads up. I don't want to give too much away for the next session, but we will be doing a grounding activity, and I want to be cognizant of people's different physical abilities and disabilities. So when we go on break, take a few minutes to find some random things around your house or apartment or whatever, various textures, various sizes, various colors, just compile some stuff. That's all I had.
Yes, we will be sharing these presentations. We will also have these recordings available for folks to go back and visit. So be on the lookout.
For today's agenda, we're going to go a little bit over this is the overall day agenda. So we're in the recruiting in a digital era right now. So we had some questions the last time about like, okay, so now we know how to facilitate a digital event, but how do we get people to show up to it? So we're going to go over pretty briefly some of those different techniques that you can use in the digital tools at hand.
I need a second because something's going on.
You're good. So while we're getting that together, do folks want to drop in the chat maybe some pro tips that they picked up that they maybe this week, something that they picked up this week if they've been to other sessions that they think they're going to bring into their chapter work? And you just drop that in the chat or come off mute. Okay. All right. So we can get going. Yeah, so we're just going to go over some sample scripts. Yeah, Andy, I was feeling it too. Like, oh, it's all right. We're just filling some space. So we're going to go over some sample scripts that you can use to DM folks. A little overview about things that you can use different social media things for, things like going over how to replace things like class wraps and stuff. So this first part, we're actually going to break off into breakout groups and do talk about these questions here on the screen. So the questions are, how did you recruit your people before? And how, if you've used social media before, how you've used it and how it works for you. So we're going to go ahead and break off into the groups there.
conglomerating with other organizations and having everybody do a short presentation on their organization and like a schedule of upcoming events. And I think we've done 2 of those recently, and each time we've had people RSVP to our stuff and new people joining our group chats. So I think that partnering with other orgs and kind of creating that communal feel can really help replicate that same excitement of tabling when you're trying to recruit new people during this time. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good idea. I love it. And I'm also just going to uplift in the chat that people have talked about the info fair at the beginning of the semester, tabling, flyers, so pretty standard outreach stuff. Okay, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And we're actually gonna do breakout groups again. So this time the questions are, how are you recruiting people now? Because the first question kind of repeats itself, just noticing that. Cool, so I'm gonna open the rooms back up again. All right, everybody should be back. So what did we learn? What are we doing right now? We'll take a couple of folks to share out and you can drop in the chat again. So maybe you don't have the answer to that question, but did y'all, while you were talking about it, maybe come up with ideas of something that you could do?
I just want to share in my group, G Pineda, they shared an easy way to by specializing something special, like in regards to your own university, creating something special that other people on campus would like to get, such as specialized essentials, condoms, or anything with the label of your university, and connecting it to reproductive justice.
Yeah, so what I talked about is like, I recently did a giveaway where it was for my LGBT organization, where I just made like a pride flag, and then I got my university's name embroidered on it. And I realized it got a lot of attention and people were really interested in that particular item. But I did recommend staying away from essential needs, like not doing condoms and stuff like that, because the condoms should be accessible towards all people, not just in a giveaway. Some other ideas I would say maybe is doing like a club T-shirt, or maybe like doing like handbags. I know I really enjoy like, if y'all know like makeup bags, like those little like pencil pouches and stuff. I know one of my queer friends like makes them handmade and like designs them and everything. And so I always link up with them anytime I need a item created. So that's just kind of like ways to get more followers. So yeah.
Yeah, people respond really well to incentives whenever they're getting free stuff. And like the stereotype is that college students love free things, but like even non-college students love free things. Everybody likes free stuff. Yeah, oh, on the mailbag, you a bag a month if you all want any. Thanks Jesse for that pro tip. Also Andy mentioned raffles social media, tag 2 friends and get them to follow, like share and subscribe kind of things. Yeah, everybody does love swag. Yeah, great. So we just wanted to get your juices flowing as we move into this conversation about recruiting in a digital age. Yeah, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So what are the tools of social media? Use hashtags. Those are really good on Twitter to kind of track discussion on things and different people's inputs. Direct messaging is really good for pestering people. I know we talked about a little bit in the last session at the end of it when people were asking questions, like it's not enough to just post on social media because everybody is doing that now. That was enough like 10 years ago when people were just figuring out how to use it, but now everybody's posting things, and even Facebook deprioritizes posts from pages in their algorithm. Like they've changed it to where you only really see people instead of groups or pages. So direct messages are really good. Like, hey, did you see my event? I invited you to it. Do you think about going? Something else that's good is resharing and retweeting. And this is also good for building up your base. So maybe somebody in your club is like TikTok famous or Twitter famous, and has a really big platform, and can get your information out to more people than you could on your page. And also instantaneous posting. So posting it as things are happening, just keeping it updated. Because like Twitter, the algorithm it works on like more posts, the better kind of thing. And we'll get more into specific platforms in the next few slides.
Okay, I can cover Instagram, and so because Instagram is always something that I'm playing around with, and so with Instagram, it's all visual. That's where Canva really comes into play. If you were there for that workshop, you'll have access to that workshop later on. We have it recorded, and so you're now able to add GIFs, whatever y'all pronounce, but with Canva, you can have it converted to a MP4 file that's like a video, so you can have it uploaded and it'll be really cute, animated onto your page. You can also directly message folks. When you have stories or people mention you in their story, you also have the feature to be able to have that same story featured onto your own story, because they have added your Instagram page. So that's cool, and you can just thank them for sharing that stuff, or you can also get submissions for things if you have like the Q&A kind of thing, style post, like what are you excited about this semester, and have people share, and it can be anonymous, I think, and you can also respond individually. You also have a QR code that's similar to the Snapchat code that we all use to add our friends. So like go to your profile, you click on the 3 bars on the right corner. I don't know my left and right. And it's the 4th option, that's the QR code, and you can have that, like you can print it off, you can share it, you can, it's very much more it's easy in case that your whatever your username, if it's long, then you can also have it like very simple to share. And you can also add your link tree into your bio if you create a link tree, or whatever link that you want to have in your bio, just have it under website. The bio will describe whatever you are, whatever you want to describe your organization as. And also the cool thing about the stories is that you're able to create these highlights, and you can have covers that you can create also on Canva. I love Canva. And Sarah made a great covers that all the states all borrowed for their pages, and we have a cover for each thing, like our priorities, LGBTQIA+, our chapters, like we can highlight them all under those, so then you don't lose your stories and you have them archived there. And it's really good for folks who are trying to get to know your organization. So yeah, you have those features, you can tag people, you can also, what else can you do? You have the ability to follow hashtags, and you can like live stream from an Instagram. I'm not sure how it works with saving, but I think like if you save the live, it'll save into your own gallery on your phone, so you can later repost it. It'll just be very like, it'll like do it in the 30-second, whatever the amount of time that they have for the stories. Yeah, I think you can also be tagged and have it saved under your tagged section of your profile. I'm trying to think of everything that Instagram does because there's so many things that you can do. You can also like search who you all follow, and like just follow everyone. You can follow whoever you want, and then they'll see that y'all have followed them, they'll follow you back if you have the same similar interest. And this is where, like, when you're collaborating with other organizations, you can tag each other on your graphics that you've made for your event, and it'll be easy for folks to, like, spill over into your page. So yeah, like, Instagram is a great tool for y'all to use. I'm not sure if I've missed anything, but if anybody has any other comments, please put in the chat of what else you can use Instagram for.
Yeah, so I'll talk about Twitter. A little bit you can do is like a lot of the same graphics that you would make for Instagram, like infographic posts, you can also put on Twitter. And then you can also DM people tweets like, hey, make sure that, like, if you post an action, like a call to action for people to sign an online petition, you can then DM everybody who follows you, all of your friends, like, hey, check out this petition, and make sure people get that information. You can also follow hashtags. So hashtags are really good for changing or shaping the public narrative on different issues at hand. So you want to follow those different hashtags. That way you're like in the loop with how theory is changing, how language is changing, and how people are feeling about certain topics. That is really good for keeping in touch with folks, especially like now that we're all digital, we don't get to see each other as often, talk about different issues. And then you can also tag people posts. This can be really helpful if you're trying to leverage power over an elected official, for example. You can tag them relentlessly on Twitter until they get their attention, because somebody's going to notice at some point that you've been tagging them and they're not responding if they don't respond to you. And then you can also do event graphics in your Twitter header. So you can say, hey, check out my header if you want to find out how to link. So sorry, let me put this thought together. If you tweet out about an event, you can also say like, hey, check out the header for like a bit.ly in a graphic or something like that. But yeah, Twitter is just a really powerful tool, and the algorithm does work on more posts, the better. So be sure to be tweeting often about things. And you can also, if you're, another pro tip, if you're working off of a laptop, you actually do have the ability to schedule out tweets. So that's something I do for like our Urge Kansas Twitter, is I'll draft up some tweets, and then just pick days throughout the week, throughout the month that makes sure that you are posting with some regularity, because we get busy and sometimes social media falls to the back burner. So it's good to have those posts planned out ahead. And then I'll hand it off to Jessie for our next section.
Cool, yeah. And I'll just add again about social media is, yes, consistency is key. The more often you are posting, the more often you will appear on different people's feeds. So I know for Instagram, a great rule of thumb is posting 3 times a week, as well as posting on your story that same amount of time. Twitter is a little bit more different, but I would say the trickiest algorithm is Instagram. So, and again, keeping in mind that Instagram is more of a visual platform and Twitter is much more about words. So keeping your language short and concise on Twitter is really important, because people are trying to scroll as fast as possible and like do some like doom scrolling on Twitter every day. So make it sweet, short, to the point. Instagram, people write these really long comments and captions for their posts, which is totally fine. But again, it's mostly a visual. Most people will not read your captions on Instagram all the way through unless you make it visually appealing as well, right? So like breaking it down into paragraphs, adding emojis for each section is going to make it much more visually appealing and make it more inviting for the reader to keep on reading what you've posted. So keeping that in mind, you want to keep most of your important information on that flyer, on that graphic, on that actual post, because that's what people are mostly going to be reading. So I just want to like reiterate that point. But I will be talking about sample DM scripts, which are kind of like the more like, I get kind of nervous to do it as well, even if I'm using the Urge Instagram and not my own personal Instagram. So they don't have to be, there's no like perfect example of what a sample DM script. I would say be yourself first and foremost, right? You don't want to sound so robotic that people are like, oh, this is a bot reaching me. You know, keep it short and simple.
You're talking to people your own age, people on your campus, right? So here's a sample DM script that we have. Hey there, I was wondering if you'd be interested in joining our event coming up soon. I've sent you the flyer with all the details, right? And so you would send them the graphic, the post that you just created, short and simple. You could also, you know, use jokes, whatever, but also you don't want to try too hard and then come off as like some kind of like, you know, like people will know. So just keep it short and simple. Don't overthink it. So that's like your first invite, right? You send them that. You wait for their response, and ideally you would want to see a response. And then if they say yes, like that looks great, that looks awesome, thanks so much for sharing, you could say that's great, I'm excited to see you there. And then you can also ask them, can you reshare your post? Or can you invite a couple friends? Or you can just keep it simple if you're feeling weird about being demanding. I know I get that way. You can just say something simple like, friends are always welcome to come if you feel more comfortable coming into the space with a friend. Feel free to bring as many friends as you'd like. Anyone is welcome to the space. And if they can't come and they're open and honest about it, one, take the time to recognize that that's really nice of them. A lot of people could totally ignore your message and just like not respond. So just respond and say, that's all right, thank you so much. But do you think you could still reshare this, or at least tell some of your friends who might be interested or might be available in coming to this event? Because the goal is just to reach out, right? And keep track of the people who are responding to you, right? Maybe they couldn't come to this event in particular, but maybe they could come to other ones. And then from there, start conversations. It's totally fine. See if you can start a one-on-one. Cool, yeah, we'll go to that one, the phone. Thanks. So this is also like one that Nigel sent over a text message, right? So this one is like straight to the point. It tells you everything you need to know. Thank you, I made it. It says, hey Eric, this is Nigel with URGE. We are bringing young people from all over Kansas to Topeka for our 2019 Advocacy Day, and I wanted to invite you personally, right? So that makes it, again, personal. It's a one-on-one interaction. You care about them. You want them to know about this. It has all the details, right? It says it takes place on March 7th. We cover the costs, which is an incentive, and it's an opportunity to meet with your state legislators about issues that matter to you. Another incentive, right? And a really unique opportunity. Would you like more information, right? So you're not like taking them in right away. You're inviting them to a conversation, asking if they want to learn more, and then from there, seeing what can be done. So you don't want to be too forward, is what I'm trying to say. You can also reach out to your professors or department heads to do this sort of outreach for you as well. So what I used to do when I was in college is I would think about the things that my campus group was talking about and trying to accomplish on campus, and kind of making those connections of like, where else am I having these conversations? Thankfully for me, all of my professors are basically Marxists and communists. And they were just super dope, super sick people, and I learned so much from them. So I totally felt comfortable telling them all about this, and they were always really, really supportive. But you will also find those people in gender studies, sociology, philosophy, ethnic studies. Any of those sort of majors will usually lean toward the kind of stuff that we're already working on. So in order to do this, I would say come prepared with a draft blurb of what your group is trying to accomplish. I think I have a script on the next slide, if you want to see. Yeah, so this is sort of like an example script. So I put here, hi, Professor Cuarenta. My name is Jessie. I'm a Media and Cultural Studies major, and I made a typo. And I run the URGE chapter here at UC Riverside. URGE at UC Riverside is a space for young activists who are dedicated to achieving reproductive justice on campus. We are currently working on implementing medication abortion on campus and are trying to destigmatize abortion. We would really appreciate if you could share with your students the following. And you would already have this information by looking up your organization documents, right? Your mission and vision statements, the events that you're having or the next upcoming event, your regularly scheduled meetings, depending on what you're trying to accomplish here, right? If you're trying to get more people to your meetings or if you're inviting the campus to this one event, right? That's all contingent on what you're trying to do for this outreach portion. And always include like the email for your campus organization, your social media handles in that little blurb. So in case someone is like reading this and they're like, I don't think I want to respond to going, but maybe I'll check them out on social media, right? And if you're really close to the professor and you feel comfortable, maybe ask if the professor can provide extra credit for students who want to attend your meeting, right? I found that oftentimes our events were kind of catered toward things that people were learning in class, and so they got firsthand experience by joining our events or our meetings. So also keep on the lookout for that. Again, it's just knowing the people on your campus, it's knowing the professors, it's knowing what they're teaching. So maybe you haven't even like met this professor, but you could see that they teach a reproductive justice course or something of that matter, then definitely reach out. And that's also a great new connection to have for yourself on your campus, because think about campaigns when you're going to need petition signatures. If you want staff and faculty, don't be afraid to reach out. You need people on your side. You need people in your corner. They are there to help you. They're professors. They want to see students succeed. So don't be afraid to reach out to professors or department heads. Next slide.
I would also add something here. So this is good if you're like, I'm thinking about class reps and like how to replace class reps. We can still do those if you have a good relationship with the professor. You can ask them to jump into a Zoom class and do a class rep. So a lot of the things you could do before you can still do, but we just have to like think a little bit more creatively about.
So I'm not sure if this is still my slide, but I can go ahead and do it. Yes? Okay, cool. But yeah, and to just add on to what Nigel just said really quickly, the whole point of digital organizing, or the reason that, not the reason I should say, but we have to look at digital organizing as a new tool. Things that we would do in person may not make sense anymore in a digital space and don't translate the same. So always think about what the outcome was with your digital recruitment, or what the outcome was of like whatever recruitment you were doing, whatever event you were doing, and thinking about how you can do that digitally, right? So sometimes it may not make sense for you to do things exactly the way they would be, but just over a Zoom call. You may have to think a little bit differently, a little bit more creatively. And to be quite honest, like Urge staff is like learning this for the first time. So we're happy to like brainstorm with you all. We're learning with you. We're also on this journey with you all. So I know it's tough. I know it's weird, but just wanted to say that too, that, you know, you're not alone in this. But virtual one-on-ones are really important to start building those relationships, but also diving into a little bit more recruitment. It's really, really important that you show incoming members that you care, you're excited to see them. You know, people come for the advocacy work, but they stay for the organizer. It's so, so important that you are building relationships with everybody. And it's okay to have fun too, I will say that. It's important to have fun. So anyway, one-on-ones are a great tool for recruitment. It increases the buy-in of recruits. And you want to schedule one-on-ones with possible members a few days after their first contact with the group. It's really essential that you're doing this soon after, so as to like not let time pass and feel like that event has been forgotten, this person has been forgotten. You want to make sure that it's still fresh and you keep that momentum going. So one-on-ones are your chance to find out more about the person. What do you mean by buy-in? So I, from California, don't use this language of buy-in of recruits. What I'm assuming it means, help me out here, Nigel and Emily, it's just a way to get folks to feel like more comfortable and feel like, yeah, invested to you and committed. And it just kind of goes into like showing that you care, and they like also will start to care about you, right? So again, going back to they come for the advocacy, but they stay for the organizer, and stay committed to you all. Because it is hard to say no, right? Once you know somebody, you don't want to let them down if you like miss a meeting or anything. I'm really iffy with one-on-ones because I don't want my officers to get Zoom fatigue. Are there ways to avoid this? Yes, exactly, Kathleen. I would say phone calls. It doesn't always have to be web cameras. So I will say even before the pandemic, when I would have one-on-ones with students, sometimes I would be like, you know what, I cannot drive to San Diego today. I cannot drive to San Bernardino today. Like, can we do a phone call? Can we do Zoom or whatever? You know, it doesn't always have to be on Zoom. Empowering is fun. Distance and mass coffee meetups are good too, especially outside. We don't want to encourage anyone to do that. That's all up to your discretion if you want to meet up with people. I highly suggest and recommend that we don't meet in person. But anyway, I am going to keep going. If there are questions, feel free to raise them up to me. But anyway, one-on-ones are a great chance to know about, get to know someone a little bit more. Why are they interested in this, right? I always ask people, how did you step into organizing work? Like, who are you as an organizer? Really opens the door for a deeper connection. What skills do they bring to the table? This I would recommend not asking directly, but just kind of asking them questions about what they do, what they've done in the past, what their interests are when it comes to organizing, right? And maybe they're completely new and they're still trying to figure it out, and that's good information to have too. That way you know that you can kind of keep them under your watch, keep them under your wing, and make sure they feel comfortable in stepping into their new leadership. And what is their capacity to be involved, right? We want to make space for people who are interested, but we don't want to overwhelm them or have such high expectations and demands of people when they simply just can't commit to the same level of commitment you may have, right? And a good rule is 75-25, meaning when you're having these one-on-ones, it's an opportunity for you to really, really listen to this person. So let them talk 75% of the time, and then you talk 25% of the time. So we also suggest a 15 to 30-minute conversation. Shorter sooner is better than longer later. So what that means is basically, again, making sure you're doing that as soon as possible. And also, again, to address Zoom fatigue, like, keep it short. It doesn't have to be this like hour-long coffee date and you're like scrambling to keep the conversation flowing. Like, if it's done in 10 minutes, it's done in 10 minutes, but it's okay. Yes, Andy. Begin by reintroducing yourself and talking a little bit about the org. Again, keeping in mind you're at the 25%. You're not giving them your whole story and the whole history of URGE and your club. And then ask them questions that will let you know more about the last things mentioned in the last slide, and keep it natural. This is not a job interview. You're not harping them on what they know. It's simply just the beginning of a relationship. Yeah, so I think that is the last slide. Do we want to open it up for questions? Do we have time for questions?
We're a little over time, but I still want to make space for folks to have questions that we can address it while all the information's still fresh. If folks don't have questions, that's also fine. Sorry, Jesse.
I was going to say, I could just check the chat if there were other questions. And also, like, again, I want to encourage folks, like, if now you don't have questions, if now you're just kind of like still absorbing and processing, always, 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 like, schedule a one-on-one with your state organizer. If you just want to, like, do a role play, like, one-on-one, that would look like, we're so happy to do that. We're happy to go through all this information again. Yeah, because I know it's a lot, right? We're throwing so much information to you. So yeah,
I wanted to just uplift something about like our situations right now with like having to deal with COVID, and some folks have different ways of being on campus or not being on campus. Some universities are still open in person, while some are hybrid, and others are just completely digital and you're at home. So if you're on campus and it's in person, then like still kind of use the bulletin boards that Campus Life gives you. Like that gives you the ability to have that advertised on campus. Sidewalk chalking, if it's allowed, like just put like the very basics Instagram handle on there. Like that's easy for folks to follow you. They're walking to class, they're tired, they're gonna look down. and I'm trying to think of other things. Oh, if you're still living on campus and you have RAs have to put up flyers and keep, the walls interesting. So always connect with an RA about your flyer. They'll tell you what you need to put on there for it to be approved by Residence Life. Just make yourself familiar with the things that are already expected of organizations from Campus Life, and, just adapt it to whatever your university is doing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, if nothing else, I think we can move on to the next segment. Oh, yay. I'm glad.
Okay, folks. So yeah, let's just take 30 seconds to kind of shake it out and let all of that wonderful information just sink into your body, sink into your brain. We are coming up on our very last segment here of Leadership Summit 2020. So get ready. Just need about 30 more minutes of your time. And thank y'all so much. Thank you so much for continuing to engage with us about these topics. We're just so grateful to have y'all in the space and to have your energy. This one, we're going to be doing a couple of interactive events. So get ready to listen to instructions when they are upon you. So thank you, Andy, for getting the slideshow all ready together. We are going to be talking about digital event planning, and more so on the subject of topics, tips and tricks to choose a really relevant topic, to think about what kinds of activities and discussion you would want to include in a digital event to really make sure that you get as many folks as possible in on it. So let's just dive into it. We can just go over to the next slide. So we're going to actually start with an activity called fishbowl feeling. So in a minute, I'm gonna ask, give you some instructions on how this is going to work out. But first, I just want everyone to take just 20 seconds or so to think about what activities, tips or tricks have stuck with you so far throughout this whole summit. Think about maybe your favorite session so far and what made that session really special. When have you felt the most engaged? I know we've all been to what feels like a bazillion types of digital events since the pandemic has hit. So think about one in particular that really rocked your world, and what was included, what activities were presented for you, how was it really engaging? And on the flip side, if you're just I can't think of any digital events that I've been to that have been fun and engaging, think about why that was. Maybe think about some things that some folks tried that were kind of a miss. So just take a moment to share, to think about a reflection that you'd be willing to share. So now I'm going to also put these instructions into the chat. But first, if you're not already muted, please do mute yourself. And then everyone, please turn off your video. So I'm going to keep mine on for right now, but please everyone turn off your video. And once you've done that, click the 3 dots on your square and then click turn off non-video participants. So I should be the only person that you see, my face should be, it's like me TV. Is that what people are experiencing? Can I get like one person in the chat? Perfect, thanks Melissa. So next we're going to dive into this fishbowl activity. And so when you are ready and the moment is right, you're gonna turn on your video to get queued up to share your reflection. But there's only 5 people allowed in the fishbowl at one time. So right now I'm one person. But if Sarah, for example, turns on their video, whoa, it's 2 of us in the fishbowl and we're sharing our reflections. So just like that, let's dive into it. This is gonna be like rapid fire. Let's get 3 more people to join us right now. Only 3. Come on, folks. Only 3 people. Let's bring the energy. Let's get in it. Get in the fishbowl with us. We're just waiting for you. Yay. Thank you, Melissa. 2 more. Awesome. Thank you, Abigail. Oh, I'm going to go. I'm going to turn off. So it's 5 of y'all. Okay, and then just unmute yourself and share your reflection. And then as you share, you can turn off, leaving space for other people to jump in. So let's try this.
I liked how it was all focal, a lot attention focused.
I really feel like this presentation helped to demystify like the social media aspects of recruitment, and like DMing has always been kind of scary for me. So I think that it really helped.
Fabulous, thank you. So Melissa and Abigail, since you shared, you can turn off your video. And then we need 3 more people to turn on and give some reflections. Those of you who are on, why don't you feel free to share?
I liked how it kind of fought like the stigma of being tired and kind of holding back as an organizer, because that happens. And as you said, like they stay for the organizer. So sometimes that is like a big weight, but you guys helped like destigmatize and like make it feel normal. So yeah.
I really liked learning like all of the alternative ideas since it's been like really hard to kind of organize on campus, even though I graduated already, but you know, kind of seeing like how my last org at TAMUCC and how they're kind of like learning and, you know, and then watching, you know, going through this, it was really helpful.
I've really enjoyed all the breakout rooms today and throughout this whole weekend. I feel like I've connected a lot more in the breakout rooms, and I'm really glad that I got to meet y'all.
I love the breakout rooms. Like, for some reason, every single like Zoom event I've ever been to has not, my roommate is here, has not done like breakout rooms and has not really done any kind of interactive activity. So it's just been me like staring at a screen for hours. So it really helps to like break up the monotony and, you know, kind of like talk through what we're learning and see everybody's faces and just kind of like connect with each other.
I really loved how we were like, hey, we're doing our best, and that is very worthy of being celebrated. We're doing our best. It's not like we wish it would be, but we're celebrating. We're having a great time, and we're doing the best we can, and that's what matters. So, yeah.
I also really love the breakout rooms and getting to know everyone from different places, and then also learning about Canva is really helpful.
Fabulous. Thank y'all so much for sharing your reflections and hearing a lot of common themes of like meeting y'all where you're at. Like it just feels really good to feel affirmed in all of the difficulties that we face as organizers right now. And we hope that this session has really helped you hone in on some of those skills and also know who you can talk to for support. Also hearing some threads about like, you know, making it interactive, like breakout rooms, like actually having time to like hang out and chat. So with that, thanks for sharing your fishbowl feelings with us. I think we'll head back to the slideshow, Andy, when you're ready to share. section, and we'll go to the next slide. Awesome. So just quickly, we are going to like zoom through this. No pun intended. So we've already talked about, you know, just some highlights of yours. We're going to go over some main things to consider, planning, tips and tricks. And then we're actually going to go into breakout groups once again for a little competitive spirit, a competitive game on event planning, which Sarah will facilitate. And yeah, and then we're just going to close and send you off. So keep with it, keep tight, and we'll go to the next slide.
Solid. So I'm going to try and get through this quickly so everybody has time in their breakout groups for this competition. When y'all are working on events this upcoming year and all the time, some things to keep in mind. One, is it relevant? So read your folks, your community, what's going on in the political moment, and see what your folks need and what your event can provide. Also, is it timely? Some events might require rapid response. Y'all could consider developing some templates for events or actions that can quickly be adapted to many different things. And then, is it engaging? Does your event have enough interactive elements that really require people to be on the same Zoom at the same time? And if not, consider maybe doing it as a video, as a podcast, something that folks could listen to and engage with on their own time. And finally, what is going to draw people to your event? Y'all just spent some time thinking about what makes you want to go to events, what makes you not want to go to events, and what makes you prioritize one event over another. Also, be sure to keep in mind, what do you want to accomplish with your event? And then y'all can kind of backwards plan from there. So feel free to come off mute, but what are some things, what type of events might y'all plan to do some education or awareness around an issue? Also fine. So y'all might want to accomplish education or awareness. Y'all might want to have a call to action. Maybe you want to increase your membership base. You want to build coalition with other partner orgs in your community, or maybe you want to do some fundraising. So think about what would accomplish those things best. Maybe you'll do a lecture or a panel to do education or awareness. Maybe you're doing a film screening to engage membership and grow your base. Maybe you're doing a tweet storm or letter writing as a call to action. You could host social hours or mixers to do some coalition building with other organizations. And then a little bit of reminders on logistics. Set a goal number of attendees. That'll help you decide how much and what kind of outreach to do. Figure out a name for your event. That's going to be important to gain traction, stick in folks' minds. Make sure that your name reflects what's happening at the event without being super broad or super narrow. So an event titled Reproductive Justice 101 would be introductory, cover the basics. It would probably cover what is the reproductive justice framework, who began the RJ movement, what issues have been historically centered in the work, and who's doing the work now. Decide on a date and time. So if you're having a closed event, just your membership or a smaller group of people, maybe y'all take some steps to ensure the maximum amount of people can come. You know, for example, for Leadership Summit, we tried to figure out if y'all wanted one long day, if y'all wanted shorter days over a longer period of time. And, you know, if you're doing something with the broader public, you might just pick the time that works best with your exec board. so that y'all can be there and have a presence and manage the event. Once you have that done, provide that information to either potential speakers and the community that you're doing outreach in. So if you're reaching out to a potential guest speaker, it's best to have a date and time in mind before making contact. Scheduling can get really complicated via email, and if your day and time doesn't work for that guest, they'll let you know. And then based on your needs, you can decide if you want to change the date and time to work with that specific person, or pull in somebody else, or move forward some other way. We've talked about accessibility a lot all day, closed captioning, etc. And then making sure that your event reflects URGE's values. So if you're bringing in an outside speaker, make sure that they know who URGE serves, that URGE is focused around young people who are Black and people of color, queer and trans, of low income, etc. And especially important in an election year, make sure that we are following any C3 guidelines and are nonpartisan.
All right, y'all. So we are about to put all of this that we've been learning all of today into practice. So, and if y'all are competitive like me, this is your time to shine, because we're about to do a whole competition with prizes. So first off, we'll go over kind of what we're doing, and then we'll kind of, sneak peek the prizes. So what we're going to be doing as a group is you all will have 15 minutes in a breakout room with about 5 people-ish. And so you all should decide as a group, first a team name, and decide a team captain who will be in charge of doing any kind of announcement at the end. And then you will decide as a group what type of event you want to put on. So think of what kind of event you want to put on for the fall semester of this year. So just like we're planning an event as an organization, figure out your event name, figure out your goals, like how many people you want there, why you're putting it on, what kind of things you'll do to help with accessibility, all of those ideas. And I'm about to drop a Google Doc worksheet for you all. So this is just for you all to use to fill in. It's gonna be a lot, bear with me, but whatever breakout room you're in, you'll want to use that worksheet to fill out. And it basically has all of these bullet points it has all these bullet points to consider that's on the PowerPoint. So you all can work on the Google Doc together and fill that out. And then once you all come back, make sure to rename yourselves with your team name. And then your team captain will have 30 seconds, only 30 seconds, to give a really sweet, short, elevator pitch about your event. So hype up your event like you're talking to us, like you're trying to invite us to the event. And we're gonna have some judges who are your very own state organizers coming out that will be judging y'all. You'll get to meet them as you come back. And so without further ado, I'll show you the prizes. We have these URGE notebooks. Yes. We'd love to see it. So these are up for grabs. I'm just saying, so you all should try to brainstorm some creative, relevant events together. Don't worry, everyone's a winner, but there's someone who's more of a winner than other people, so it's all good. I think so. Ooh, Sonia is going to put us into breakout rooms. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. So first off, we're going to introduce our judges. So if you all could popcorn and introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Ohio State organizer. And my judge name is Olaf. I will change it now. I will pass it off to Emily.
Hey, my name is Emily. I'm the Georgia State organizer. My pronouns are she, her, aya, and my judge name is Judge Emilian. I'll pass it on to Jessie.
Oh shit, I did not come up with a judge name. I will just be Bayunka. Salvadorians here. No, Jessie Licious. We can do that too. We'll do Jessie Licious because that's what the people want. But you've seen me today, so hello.
All right, y'all, you heard it here first. So let's start out. We're gonna go in numerical order because I'm really boring. Okay, so we're gonna start with group 1. Who is your team captain? Come forward.
So I'm Abigail. I'm the team captain. We're the CLIT, stands for Community Leaders in Training. And we'll be hosting a social spooky watch party on October 29th, right before Halloween. And we're going to be dressing up in our best costumes and watching Unpregnant. And we're going to be discussing our thoughts and feelings and ideas about the movie and its relation to real life. And we're going to show off our amazing costumes. And the best costume will receive our grand prize. But everyone for showing up will get an awesome goodie bag with stickers, candy, and little Urge swag. So I hope y'all can make it.
Okay, we love to see it.
That was so good.
For the CLIT team. And now for the judges.
You're gonna count down?
What is your scores? Ooh, oh, we got 10s across the board. Oh, honey. Okay, Team CLIT. All right. We're starting off strong. Let's go with breakout room 2.
All right, breakout room 2. Our team name is Bob. Very excited for Team Bob. So our event idea is a post-election self-care night, where basically we have to like a yoga mindfulness kind of night, as well as having a movie and just really de-stressing and being able to do like finger painting. So yeah, and partnering with one of the mindfulness clubs on campus to kind of lead us through some guided meditation as we all like take a moment after the election, one way or another, to breathe. So yeah.
We love de-stressing. Let's give some love for Team Bob. Yes. What do y'all think, judges? Ooh, we got an 8, a 10, and an 8. Okay.
I will just say that like tagline at the end was just perfect. The like, this is a yoga training for us to take a moment to breathe after the election. Like lead with that. That was beautiful. That made perfect sense to me. That was it.
Yes, for a post-election de-stressing, because I will need that. Let's go for group 3. Come forward.
Okay, listen. Wait. Okay, listen. We don't have a name. That 15 minutes went real fast. We only got like a vague concept. No names, yes. We got a vague concept. We were gonna do brunch, but like with like a letter writing thing to politicians, like urging them to do stuff. And that was pretty much it. That's all we got.
Team No Names! Woo! You cannot see, you cannot perceive. Yes, we love brunch. Okay, what do the judges think? Oh, we got a 6. Oh, 3 6s. Oh. Okay. And now we move on to group 4.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna talk. I don't know who else is doing it. Hi, so are we just saying our team name? Okay, our team name is the Cool Cats because 3 of our names start with K,
And then the other person, Kita, is also a K. So like all our nicknames and names start with K. So also we were talking about our cats, so it was cute.
Share your event idea.
Oh, shit, you're right. I'm so sorry. Our event idea is we're going to have a voter registration / like your options for voting in your state event. As well as like educated, we don't know like how well this is gonna work with like 501c3, but like educating people on the candidates as much as we can and the issues, because people being informed about voting is like just as important as voting.
Yes, we love voter education. Let's give some love for the cool cats and kittens. T4. All right, what do the judges think? We got an 8, an 8, and a 6. Good job.
To explain the 6 is like, my concern is just like what exactly is gonna be, you know, nonpartisan. We want to make sure that we're C3 compliant.
That's the thing, yeah, the education thing might be like, that was kind of a last thought and we didn't have enough time to like really talk through it to like figure out how to make it 501c3 non-compliant or compliant. So yeah, y'all gotta give me more time. I can't plan a whole event in 5 minutes.
I know, y'all. Timing is key. Gotta plan ahead. All right, y'all. We are pretty much halfway through. Let's go to team 5. Come forward.
Hello, we're the Magical Pitches, and our event type is a social mixer. Our event name is Escaping from the Haunted Mansion, which is like a virtual escape room. So the time and place is October 31st on Halloween. And when you enter this Zoom meeting, it is a haunted house that you need to escape from. And what you do is you get into break rooms. And in order to escape the break rooms is by answering questions of true and false questions of facts about what is reproductive justice. And incentives of that event is, you know, sweets, tea bags, scantrons, all leading up before finals.
We love an escape room. Yes. Being teabagged. I don't know about that.
No, I meant tea to relax before finals. Like, you know, the teas.
Yes. All right, let's give some love for the magical bitches. Yes. All right, what do the judges think? Oh, we got 10s across the board. Okay. Yes, magical bitches. The bitches are actually magical. We love to see it. All right, we'll go to team 6.
Hi, so we are Powerful, aka WAP. And trigger warning, our event like focuses on sexual assault awareness and violence. So if you need to take a minute and just sit back, you're all good. But our idea is a virtual clothesline project towards the end of the month. So because Domestic Violence Awareness Month is the month of October, and it's also Spook Month. So we're gonna do a little vigil, and we're gonna make everyone get white shirts and put down either their story if they feel comfortable doing so, or you know, just something supportive. And we're gonna hold a little vigil over Zoom and support, empower, and raise awareness towards one another.
Yes, we love some good educational content. Yes, let's give it up for WAP, Team WAP. Yes, yes. All right, and the judges. Oh, we got an 8, a 10, and a 10. Yes. Okay, we're moving on to Team 7.
Hey everyone, our team is called the Hufflepuff Poppers. We got this name from thinking of gay trivia, and that's what our event is going to be. So it's an all-inclusive sex ed trivia that we will be playing through a Kahoot game. It's happening on October 15th at 7 p.m. And whoever knows the most can win a sex toy of their choice. And we'll also have food stipends. So if you want to learn about sex, or you want to eat, or you want to do those things simultaneously, come to our event. Thank you.
Sex and food, yes! All right, let's hear from the judges. Oh, we got a triple 10 again, wow!
Ho for Kahoot.
Sorry, I was eager because I just loved the, like, I knew everything that was going on. I was pulled in. Sorry, I was just excited.
Yes, all right, we'll go on to team 8. We're on a roll.
Hi, so we're the diaphragms because one of our group members said that that was their funniest / favorite form of birth control that they learned about, that they didn't know existed before Urge. Our event is a spooky history of abortion, and it's going to be on the 26th of October from 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. It's going to be a Kahoot / social hour, so whoever wins Kahoot / has the best costume will get some door prizes, maybe an Urge sticker, maybe a shirt. And it's all about like celebrating, giving thanks to abortion activists and how we've come a long way, and talking about the unknown history.
We love trivia here, so let's give it up for Team Diaphragms. Yes. Oh, we got a 10, and another 10. Wow, y'all are killing it. Okay, we love to see it. All right, and last but not least, Team 9. Do we have a Team 9? Maybe not. Okay. I guess we do not have a Team 9, so we'll just leave it at 8. Okay, so we have some serious news, y'all. Y'all did so great that we have a 4-way tie between Team Clits, Team Magical Bitches, Team Hufflepuff Poppers, and Team Diaphragms. So, Sonia has prepared a very obscure trivia question from what I've heard for you all. So, we're going to see who of you all can answer this question first to decide the winner.
All right, listen up, you smarty pants. You're too good for this game. So I'm going to raise the stakes a little bit more, I guess. Okay, y'all, seriously, no cheating. This comes down to the team captain. It's going to be like Jeopardy style, almost. I'm going to ask you a question. Team captains, only captains. Your team is relying on you. You have to give me an answer. And hint, the answer is going to be a specific year. And whoever's team is closest to the year that this thing happened wins the journal. And seriously, like, no cheating, no Googling, no texting your friends, no nothing. I'm going to be kind of vague about it just to make sure that you don't cheat. Okay, are we ready? Okay. In California, because I'm in California. In California, fun fact, nurse practitioners, certified nurse midwives, and physician's assistants can perform abortions in clinics and hospitals in our state. What year did a bill pass to allow that to happen? Before that bill passed, it was only medical doctors, MDs, that could perform abortions in California. What year did this one bill passed that allowed physician's assistants, certified nurse midwives, and family nurse practitioners to become abortion providers. We're talking first trimester, second trimester in California. What year? So team captains, I'm gonna call on you and you just gotta let me know. Okay, team Clit, what you got?
I'm from Texas. I'm drawing a blank, but let's say 2019. Why not?
All right, the diaphragms, what do you got?
2015.
Okay, the magical bitches, what do you have prepared?
2014.
Okay, and what is our last one? The Hufflepuff Potter?
I'm gonna say 1996. It's a lot older than what everyone else is saying, but I don't know.
Fabulous answers all around. Great job. I don't know if any of y'all are from California and know that very obscure question, but I have to say that the winner, coming in 1 year short of the real answer, is the magical bitches, with 2014 being their answer and the bill passed in 2013. So come off mute and give your friends a round of applause. Y'all did an amazing job. Everyone's a winner, like we said. But yes, Kathleen, the magical bitches are those bitches. And magical bitches, make sure that you know who you are. There's only 4 of you. But reach out to me, and I will put my email in the chat. And please send me your contact and mailing information, and we will figure out how to get these beautiful golden embossed moleskin journals to your homes. Oh my God, I just put .com because my brain. It's .org, if you can believe it. .com, bomb.com. All right, other facilitators, folks, anyone have any final thoughts or reflections before we sign off for the weekend?
Just a plug about the evals, I just dropped the link. Make sure you fill it out. This one is for today, and then if you just attended today, you can skip the last section, but there is a last section about the overall week if you did go to more than one session. So please fill that out. That's how we get better. That's how we adapt and change to this unpredictable time. But also thank y'all for a really fun and engaging leadership summit, because this went better than what we were even thinking in our heads when we were planning it. And it's mostly because y'all are so awesome.
Retweet. Retweet. I also just want to flag very loosely to keep in mind that RJLI is still happening this year, and it's going to be happening in the month of October. So just keep that in the back of your head. You'll be hearing more about that soon.
Yeah, I just really want to reiterate what Nigel said. Like, so much gratitude to all of y'all for like trusting us to like manifest these things for y'all. It was really important to us to like do it from the ground up as far as like what y'all wanted. So like our hope is that, you know, what we were able to put forth was generative and useful for y'all. And there's always room for improvement, and there's always more things to learn. So tap us, you know, check in with us. We're here for y'all. Hopefully that this really sets down like a good foundation for y'all to continue your work. Times are weird, but we're here for y'all, and we're super excited to see the amazing, brilliant things y'all are going to be able to do despite, you know, the pandemic and all the setbacks. So thank y'all so much again. We are here for y'all. Yeah, get your $20 worth of food today. And that's all I can think of, unless anybody else has anything else to say. No? Okay. Well, stay in solidarity, take care of yourselves, do something that brings you joy, take care of your body. We will talk to you soon. If you want something, get in touch with us so we can get you your goodie. If you missed some resources, we're gonna send them out to you. If you missed a session, we'll also send that out to you. So we're here. We're doing the thing and we're proud of y'all. And we love y'all.